All right, Alexander, we have the elections in the Netherlands wrapping up. We still have some information that we're waiting on, but I think the results are pretty clear now, with most of the votes counted. And I would say that it's, I don't want to say it's a mixed bag. I will say that it appears it is a victory for Mark Rutte. And he is now, from what I understand, the longest serving Prime Minister in Netherlands history, if I'm not mistaken, or at least one of the longest. I really think he is the longest, actually, in the reading and the research that I was doing. So that's historic for him. He is a man of the European Union. He is, I would define him as a globalist. I would define him as someone who is aligned with Merkel's vision of Europe, though you may want to get into how they may come to clash on certain fiscal and economic policies going forward. But to date, he has served as a key, if not the most important ally to Angela Merkel. We also have a big victory for the pro-EU party called D-66, and the leader of that party sent out a photo of herself dancing on the table out of joy. They are now the second strongest party in the Netherlands, Sigrid Kaag. And this photo is kind of going all over the internet, and the viewers can see it right now on the screen as well. This was obviously a big win for a pro-EU party. So two pro-EU parties end up number one and number two. The opposition party that was thought to be getting the second spot actually dropped to 3 from the last I've checked, and that is Wilders' party, the PVV, the Freedom Party. I don't want to say it did poorly, but it didn't do as well as expected. Wilders did show some disappointment in his comments, but he did mention that they are a solid 3. We also have Alexander, and this is the mixed bag part of it. We have the FvD with FvD Baudet, who's also a man of the conservative right, and they did very well. They did make big gains, and this is a positive. I believe the last count I saw was 8 seats, and from what I gather, that's a plus 5 or plus 6. So they did surprisingly well, though they're a smaller party. They definitely did surge. You also had some smaller parties on the left, like the Volt party, which did really well. And it really, I think we've seen the establishment keep power, but we've seen a lot of different alternative parties, right, left surge, and a bit of a disappointment for Wilders, and definitely a huge win. I think they're the winners of the night, which is the D-66. So what do you make of the elections in the Netherlands, Alexander?
Right. Well, in summary, there's been a consolidation within the sort of centrist parties on what you might call the soft centre right. So, you know, the old socialist Labour parties, which used to once upon a time dominate Dutch politics, they're still losing ground. So they're not doing particularly well. And we see the parties that, you know, as part of this Europeanist centre, and by the way, you're absolutely right to call Mark Rutte an integrationist, a globalist. He is all of those things. He is somebody who embodies all of that in the Netherlands. In some ways, it's not surprising that the Netherlands should be a place that is, you know, shall we say, accommodating to that sort of politics, because if you know Dutch history, it's a very open place. It's a place which trades a lot. It's not a very powerful country in itself. It's not a big country. So maybe, you know, it's the sort of place where you would expect, if you like, that kind of politics to be fairly successful. And Rutte has been that. But we're going to come to this in a moment, because at the same time as this is happening, as there's been this consolidation in the centre, with Rutte's party doing really well, with this other pro-European party also doing very well, you also get the sense that things are starting to rearrange themselves, both on the right, you know, the actual right, if you like, not the centre right, the right, and the left. And we're starting to see the first indications of something happening in the Netherlands that bears some resemblance to what happened in Germany. Now, in Germany, you have to go back about 5, 6 years, 8 years, if you like, to earlier periods when Angela Merkel seemed to be completely in the ascendant, just as Mark Rutte is in the ascendant. Merkel seemed to be in the ascendant. The FvD was also the second biggest party. You had those parties still appearing to dominate the political landscape, but you could see that voters were starting to become increasingly dissatisfied with this centrist, globalist, integrationist policies, what the Italians call transformismo, indefinite rule from the centre, and beginning to migrate to the right and to the left at the edges. And then gradually over time, that right and that left in Germany has grown stronger, and the centre, from having appeared to be dominant, has become not just no longer so dominant, but it's become increasingly discredited and fragmented. And that's something we talked about recently in a programme we've just done about Angela Merkel and Germany. It seems to me that the Netherlands is at a much earlier stage of that same trajectory. Now, Rutte himself has worked very closely with Angela Merkel. He's probably the kind of person who would also work very well with Armin Laschet, who is Merkel's designated successor, on the assumption that Laschet does become Germany's next chancellor. It's now, by the way, looking less likely than it once did that Laschet will be the next chancellor. But assuming he does become the next chancellor of Germany, Rutte is the sort of person who would probably work quite well with that. But there are tensions. Now, the Dutch take an even more frugal approach to budgeting than the Germans do. The first head of the European Central Bank, who was Dutch, was somebody who absolutely rejected all ideas of monetary softening and loose money. He ran a strict monetary policy, as I very well remember, for which he was very criticised by the people like Lord Paul Krugman and the rest. And that's very much the Dutch way of running monetary policy. They like a tough monetary policy. Rutte is also very strongly, at least the Dutch are very strongly opposed to euro bonds and euro transfers to the EU South. Now, Laschet is said to be somewhat more accommodating in that direction. And of course, if the CDU loses in the September elections and we get a new coalition of the Greens, the SPD and the FDP taking power, well, the Greens and the SPD are probably going to be even more accommodating to ideas like Eurobonds than even Laschet would be if he became Chancellor. And I can't imagine the Dutch being very happy about that at all. And we could very well see, as we briefly saw last summer, the Dutch becoming the major resistors to policies like Eurobonds and all the rest if they're really pushed. Now, there has been some talk in Britain about Britain reviving its old alliance with the Netherlands. Britain and the Netherlands historically have been very, very close and very close friends. And the Dutch have always had a sort of slightly wary attitude to their great neighbour, which is Germany. And they've tended to look to Britain as a sort of, counter to this. And the British and the Dutch get on very well with each other. Many young Britons like to go to Amsterdam to enjoy themselves in all sorts of ways. And of course, in the past, the King of Britain, the King of Great Britain, William the Third, was actually a Dutchman. So there is a history of very close relations between the Netherlands and Britain. If the Netherlands finds itself in a position where it is forced or it comes under pressure from Germany and France to go for Eurobonds and to agree to monetary easing, you might start to see more support, especially going to the right in the Netherlands, in Dutch politics, and perhaps more moves in the Netherlands to reinforce its relationship with Britain, which is of course outside the European Union, as a counter to Germany. Now, I'm going to just finish by saying that, of course, there's been several attempts in Germany, in the Netherlands, to get a party of the right up and running. There was there seemed to be a very strong right party emerging last year, only it disintegrated in a bizarre scandal which showed extraordinary lack of discipline in its own party. Wilders has been around for a long time. I think part of his problem is that in a way he is old news. The emergence of new parties and new forces in the Netherlands on the right is a sign, however, that there is certainly an interest in that kind of politics there, and that it might indeed cohere and come together.
Yeah, I think your comments are really interesting, listening to you. And I think it would be safe to say at this moment in time that, we've thrown around the word Teflon when we've described someone like Trudeau in Canada. And, he's withstood scandal after scandal, and he's still there. He's still leading the country. And then you have someone like Merkel, who also has a sense of being, nothing can take her down. Teflon Trudeau, you could kind of say Teflon Merkel as well. Though, she looks like she's on her last legs, that's for sure. I mean, scandal after scandal after mismanagement. I think it's finally catching up to her. But nonetheless, she's remained in power and she's withstood it all. And Rutte has that type of, of characteristic to him. So I guess, at this moment in time, you could call him Teflon Rutte in a way, because he just overcame a scandal. Here he is again. He's leading the government once again. And, you go back to, once again, mismanagement and the immigration and the EU and all the things that he's done wrong, but yet he's still in power. But there may be one difference with the Netherlands, and this may be a very big difference. And I think the UK is a good example that you bring up. The thing that may separate the Netherlands from Canada and from Germany is not that you have a conservative right party that is gaining steam, which you do have in both Canada and in Germany, especially in Germany, say with the AfD. You have a person in FvD Baudet, who has that Farage-like gravitas. And, we've talked many times how a person like that can make the difference. And many people in the Netherlands emailed me, and they explained how Baudet was really just, on the campaign trail, very much Trump-like. Big speeches, talking to a lot of people, really going door to door, old school type of campaigning. And they tried to smear him in the way they smeared Corbyn with the anti-Semitism. And they tried to get him on all of that. They eventually did take Corbyn down, but he withstood it and he gained. And he gained a lot. I mean, once again, it's a smaller party, but it rose a lot. And I think that may be something to look out for going forward, that not only do you have, like you said, various smaller parties rising, but you actually have one party which does seem to have a leader that can go to the people. That's something that you didn't see in, at least I didn't see it in Canada. I don't know if it exists in Germany. I haven't seen it in Germany, especially when dealing with the AfD. I haven't seen a breakout personality for the AfD rise up. But in this case, you may have someone there. And I say the UK because in the UK, you have a Farage who does have that type of gravitas. And you see the massive change that he's given to the UK. And on the flip side, you have the globalists who did go after Corbyn, and they did take Corbyn down in much the same way that they tried to take Baudet down. But they didn't get him in the Netherlands, but they got Corbyn in the UK. And I think that once again speaks to Thierry Baudet's ability to weather the attacks when they come, because when they attack, they come at you hard. And Corbyn obviously realized this.
Absolutely. Now, I think an essential thing to understand is that leaders like Merkel and Trudeau and indeed Rutte are able to keep going and are able to survive in power for so long because, of course, they have the support of the globalist media, which covers up their mistakes. They're propped up. If they were exposed to the kind of scrutiny that you might expect in a democratic political system, an open political system, they might not be as durable as they have turned out to be. What tends to happen, I think we're almost there with Trudeau, but it's now definitely, I think, happening with Merkel, is that eventually the point comes when the scandals and the problems and the incompetence become so overwhelming, the evidence of it becomes so overwhelming that it simply can't be covered up anymore. And I think this is where we are with Merkel. I think we're pretty close to that point with Trudeau. We're not there yet with Rutte, despite the fact that there's been many, many problems with him. But the Netherlands has a leader who, and this is where I think there is a difference with Germany, because you look at the AfD, some very able and clever people in the AfD, but it is a party that has never cohered and has never established one real personality who's there to lead it and who has that charisma and that popular touch and that ability to reach out to people in quite the same way that, say, Nigel Farage did in Britain. Perhaps the Netherlands does. And again, you mentioned Corbyn. But the thing always to remember about Corbyn is that he was in some ways, a rather nice and rather weak person. He was always trying to be friends with his enemies, never understanding how incredibly, ruthless and unforgiving and relentless they were. The fact that has been able to come back in this way and go back on the campaign trail and talk to people in the way that he has done suggests that he has that steely core and toughness which Farage does and which no one so far who has come through the AfD has visibly got to the same extent. Because you need that steely core, you need that ability to absorb the blows and to go out and campaign directly amongst people, which is what Farage also did, and which Trump, by the way, also did. In other words, you need to get past the media and talk to people directly if you're going to win them over and mobilise them. Because the media is structurally hostile to you if you take the sort of line that Trump, the AfD, have tried to do. So we will see. I think this election, what this election does show is that there is certainly an interest in that kind of politics in the Netherlands. And the fact that Rutte looks so dominant at the moment is not a sign of strength. You remember we used to talk about this, about Merkel, way back. And I always used to say, the thing about Merkel is that she's the empress without clothes. She looks strong, but when you actually look deeper, you can see how fragile the system is, how constructed it all is. And I get the same sense about the Netherlands. It could all change very quickly there. All it needs is things to start going wrong and scandals and problems to start to build up at a speed greater than the system can hide away. And I think with these kind of systems that we see, that have been created. Sooner or later, that is inevitable.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, all in all, I would say this was an EU win, but it wasn't. Like I said, it was a mixed bag in that you do see a lot of movement on the fringes, but the core did hold in this case.
Yeah, the centre held. The centre held, but perhaps we shouldn't really worry too much about the centre. Maybe looking at the fringe is actually more revealing of what's going to come than worrying too much about the centre. I can very easily see this whole thing crack and disintegrate and fall apart very much as it has in Germany. And I suspect that we are on the same trajectory there. Similar things happen in Britain also, of course. And if over the course of this year and next year, we see more pressure for fiscal transfers to Southern Europe and all that kind of thing, that could come even faster than we expect.
Yeah, I agree with you. One Farage, a man like Farage, can change a country.
Absolutely.
Just like that. So
absolutely, but. A politician like that needs to be like Farage. They need to have that tenacity and sense of purpose and direction that Farage did. A Corbyn, nice man maybe, but frankly he wasn't up to it. I mean, that was the fundamental difference.
Yeah, they tore him apart when they
wanted to. They tore him apart.
Yeah.
They wanted, exactly.
All right, those are the results from the elections in the Netherlands. Okay, we will continue to follow this story and see how things turn out. Guys, go to PayPal, Patreon, subscribe, help out this channel. Check out Alexander's channel, link down below. Check out my channel, link down below. Check out the Call-In Show channel, link down below. Subscribe to all those channels in the Duran ecosystem because YouTube definitely unsubscribes people, including on this channel. So check your subscription. Make sure you're still subscribed to us and you're still getting notifications. Hit that like button. It takes 1.5 seconds. Look for us on our Discord server. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some awesome merch that really helps out this channel a whole lot. And we'll give a real quick shout out to our video sponsor, Greek Travel Gurus. Guys, if you are looking to travel this summer, hopefully we all can travel this summer, though I know we're going to be getting a passport, a special type of passport in Europe. But if you do want to make your way to Greece, then use Greek Travel Gurus. Your money, your investment for your summer travel is safe with them. No matter what happens, Greek Travel Gurus has you covered. And they will show you Greece 10% and a 20% discount on various packages and tours. You'll find all the information down below, including a discount code, which is special for our Duran viewers. Greek Travel Gurus, guys, everything down below.
Absolutely, and this is a bespoke service. You'll be able to see Greece and enjoy your holiday there with all the and do it as you want it done. If you're interested in antiquities or walking on the mountains, the Greek mountains, or enjoying the sea, they can arrange it for you, whatever you want, and you come with the securities and protections that Alex was talking about. Do check out our shop also. You see the amazing things that we have there, our magic mugs, our t-shirts, our hoodies, our hats, our sweatshirts, and we look forward to you joining us in our next program. Check our Discord server and make sure, as Alex said, that you're subscribed to this channel and to all our other channels as well. And thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, take care, everybody.